When people hear the word economics, they often think of things that feel far away. Interest, rates, inflation, the stock market, banks, governments, but economics actually begins with a very simple question. Human wants are almost unlimited, but resources are limited. So who gets to produce? Who gets to use those resources? Who decides prices? And who receives the biggest share? Every society answers these questions differently, and from those answers, economic systems are born. The first system is the traditional economy. This is the oldest form of economy. People produce and exchange based on customs, family, community, and long-standing habits. If your father had a certain job, you were likely to continue that job. If a village lived from one craft, the next generation often kept doing the same thing. A community near the sea would fish. A mountain community might farm, raise animals, or make handmade goods. The strength of a traditional economy is stability. People know their roles. The community is connected. There is less pressure to constantly compete, but the weakness is slow innovation. If an old method is no longer effective, people may still keep doing it simply because this is how it has always been done. It creates belonging, but it can also keep people inside the same patterns for too long. The second system is the market economy. This is the model most people are familiar with today. In a market economy, decisions are mainly made by buyers, sellers, and prices. If many people want to buy something, the price may rise. If many people sell the same thing, the price may fall. For example, if a coffee shop has good coffee, good service, and reasonable prices, more customers will come. That shop may expand. Other people may see the profit and open competing shops. Customers get more choices. Good businesses survive. Poor businesses disappear. That is the logic of the market. The biggest strength of a market economy is that it encourages competition and innovation. Businesses have to make products better, cheaper, faster, or more convenient. But the dark side is that the market does not automatically create fairness. People with capital, assets, connections, and technology often have an advantage. People with fewer resources are more likely to be left behind. The market is very good at creating efficiency, but it does not always care about the vulnerable. If you need medicine but have no money, the market does not ask how badly you need it. It asks whether you can pay. That is why we need to talk about the third system, the command economy, also called a planned economy. In this model, the government makes most major economic decisions. What should be produced? How much should be produced? Who should receive it? What should the price be? Which industries should get resources? The goal of a planned economy is often to reduce inequality, avoid market chaos, and guarantee basic needs. For example, instead of letting companies produce only what is most profitable, the government can prioritize food, medicine, housing, or infrastructure. The strength of this system is that the government can focus resources on big national goals, building roads, developing industry, controlling prices, providing essential goods. But the weakness is that if planners misjudge what people need, society may have too much of one thing and not enough of another. Without competition, quality can also decline. Large bureaucracies may become slow, rigid, and less creative. If a market economy trusts supply and demand, a planned economy trusts government coordination. But in reality, very few modern countries follow only one side. That brings us to the mixed economy. This is the most common model today. A mixed economy combines the market and the government. Businesses can still compete. People can still buy and sell freely. Prices are still mostly shaped by supply and demand. But the government intervenes through laws, taxes, welfare, public investment, and regulation. For example, the market can create companies, shops, and new products. But the government sets minimum wages, labor safety laws, environmental rules, anti-monopoly policies, social insurance, and public investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The strength of a mixed economy is flexibility. It uses the creativity of the market while using the government to reduce inequality and social risk. But the hardest question is, how much intervention is enough? If the government intervenes too little, the market can create huge inequality. If the government intervenes too much, businesses may lose motivation. Procedures become heavy and innovation slows down. So, a mixed economy is really a constant balance between freedom and control, between growth and fairness, between profit and social responsibility. Now let's talk about one of the most influential systems in the modern world, capitalism. In capitalism, private individuals and companies can own property, businesses, factories, technology, and investment capital. The main goal of most businesses is profit. If you have an idea, capital, or the ability to raise capital, you can build a company. If that company succeeds, you can become very wealthy. Capitalism has created enormous innovation. Smartphones, social media, e-commerce, electric cars, delivery services, online, learning apps. Many things grow quickly because competition and profit push people to build, improve, and scale. But capitalism also creates intense pressure. People can easily be measured by productivity, income, and profit. Time becomes money. Attention becomes a resource. Emotions become data for advertising. If a platform is free, you may not be the customer. Your attention may be the product. In capitalism, people who own capital usually have a stronger position than people who only sell their labor. People with money can use money to make more money. People without assets often have to trade their time for money. That is why capitalism can create opportunity and wealth, but it can also increase inequality. On the other side, we have the ideas of socialism. Socialism emphasizes fairness, redistribution, and the common good. The central idea is that important resources in society should not only serve a small group of people who own capital, they should serve the majority of the population. In this way of thinking, education, healthcare, housing, public transport, and social insurance are not just things to buy and sell, they can also be seen as basic rights. Socialism asks a very important moral question. Is a society truly successful if GDP grows, but poor people cannot afford medical treatment? Is an economy truly efficient if a small group becomes extremely rich while most people live in insecurity? The strength of socialist thinking is that it protects vulnerable people and tries to reduce inequality. But the challenge is keeping motivation, creativity, and efficiency. If everything is distributed too equally, people who work more and people who work less may receive almost the same reward, and some may lose motivation. If the government controls too much, the system can become slow and bureaucratic. That is why many countries today do not follow pure socialism. Instead, they combine social welfare with a market economy. Businesses still compete. People can still become wealthy. But the government taxes and invests strongly in healthcare, education, social security, and reducing inequality. Next is one of the most important systems of our time, the digital economy. In the past, major assets were land, factories, and machines. Today, major assets can be data, algorithms, platforms, and user attention. A ride-hailing app does not need to own many cars. A booking platform does not need to own hotels. A social media platform does not need to create all its own content, but they own the platform, the behavior data, and the algorithm that distributes attention. That is the power of the digital economy. Its strength is convenience. You can order food, call a ride, study online, work remotely, shop, transfer money, invest, and entertain yourself from a phone. A small individual can reach a huge market. A creator in a small room can reach millions of people. But the digital economy also has a dark side. Personal data is collected constantly. Algorithms can decide what you see. Platforms can change the rules at any moment. Workers in the digital economy may have more freedom, but they can also be more unstable. A ride-hailing driver, freelancer, or content creator may not have a fixed salary, full insurance, or predictable income. Their earnings may depend on algorithms. In the past, workers depended on a boss. Now they may depend on a platform. And sometimes, the new boss is not a human. It is an algorithm. From the digital economy, we also get the gig economy and the creator economy. The gig economy means working through short-term tasks. Delivery, ride-hailing, freelancer, design, video editing, content writing, project-based, programming. The benefit is flexibility. You can choose your time, your clients, and your projects. But the downside is instability. No guaranteed income, no clear career path, less protection than traditional employment. The creator economy is when individuals make money from their content, knowledge, image, story, skills, or community. YouTubers, TikTokers, podcasters, streamers, writers, online, educators. This creates huge opportunities for ordinary people, but it also creates a new kind of pressure. You do not just work, you become a personal brand. You have to show up constantly, create constantly, measure views, likes, followers, and engagement constantly. In the creator economy, people can become more independent, but they can also turn themselves into the product. Finally, we have the green economy and the circular economy. For a long time, modern economies worked in a linear way: extract, produce, consume, throw away. But the earth does not have unlimited resources, and the environment cannot absorb unlimited waste. So the green economy tries to create growth while reducing harm to the environment. Renewable energy, clean, transportation, sustainable, agriculture, low emission products, energy saving, technology. The circular economy asks a different question. How can the waste from one process become the input for another? How can products be repaired, reused, and recycled instead of thrown away? Plastic bottles can be recycled, old clothes can be resold, electronics can be repaired instead of replaced. Factories can use byproducts to create energy or new materials. The green economy reminds us that an economy cannot only ask, how much did we grow? It must also ask, How much damage did that growth create? And who will pay the price? After looking at all these economic systems, we can see one thing clearly: no system is perfect. The market economy creates dynamism, but it can create inequality. The planned economy creates stability, but it can become inefficient. Capitalism creates innovation, but it also creates pressure and wealth gaps. Socialism focuses on fairness, but it must solve the problem of motivation and efficiency. The digital economy creates convenience, but it also creates dependence on data and algorithms. The gig economy creates freedom, but also instability. The green economy aims for sustainability, but it requires major costs and changes. In the end, every economic system is a way for society to answer three questions. What do we produce? Who receives it? And what trade-offs are we willing to accept? Understanding economics is not about memorizing concepts. It is about understanding why the world works the way it does, why the rich often get richer, why young people feel more pressure, why work keeps changing, why technology both frees people and makes them more dependent. Economics is not outside. Life. Economics is how life is organized. When you understand economic systems, you begin to see the world more clearly. You do not just see prices, you see power. You do not just see jobs, you see structures. You do not just see personal choices, you see the systems quietly shaping those choices.